This is Fam Electric Ghost, and we're live on the air with Mathias Lemos Castillo for the first time. Welcome to the Fam Electric Ghost podcast. How you doing tonight?
Doing fantastic. Closing out Friday afternoon here in the West Coast.
Oh, I'm on the East Coast. I'm in New Hampshire, so that shows you we
Uh,
can be anywhere, but that's cool. So we love to talk to people from around the world, all over the states, wherever we talk to people. And one of the things we like to talk about before we get to the heart of your story is we ask every guest a couple questions. What motivates you, and why do you do what you do?
oh, Phantom, right off the bat with the meaty question. I love it. What motivates me? I would consider myself an agent of change and change in a good way and, bad ways too, because it also sometimes gets me in trouble, but primarily for the good ways. I like to be able to look at problems, be able to look at situations, stories that people are going through, and see, how do you get from point A to point B, and how do we create that change? So for me, it's being able to constantly change, because change is growth, and change is not being stagnant.
Mm,
And what motivates me is not being in the same space or same stagnant. Like I want to grow and I want to
there we
change,
go.
and
You don't want to be in a box because
yeah,
it's really interesting to me about corporate culture is
tell
that
me.
you get a lot of like because I have a couple like they kind of show like I wear a couple hats. I'm a podcaster, I'm a musician, and I'm an IT professional. I
Uh,
work for a software company. It's kind of like like an independent startup.
mm,
But the thing is like you can have left brain, right brain. Creatives tend to be more one or the other. But the idea is corporate world says they want out of the box thinking, and then they put you in the cubicle.
oh,
It's like, so how's
that.
that gonna work?
And then you got to follow these rules and you got to stay within these parameters and solve
But
the
then they
problem.
say they want the stuff outside the bell curve. They
Oh
say they
yeah.
want that guy, but they don't create an environment where that guy wants to stay there, or that girl, or the girl, or woman, or whoever. Right? They tell you they want it, but then they proceed to create an environment that will not foster that at all.
Hmm. And I proceed to create the exact opposite of that environment. How do we create systems, opportunities, create those sort of moments that allow for people to flourish and feel like, oh, I can do things this way. So a lot of my day to day is that, being able to motivate people to think outside of that box, be able to say, we can do this differently, or reflect what's working, what's not working, what should we do differently, and those three questions can take you a long way. And my motivation is really leaning in those three.
Because it's interesting because we're talking about lessons from bridging diverse communities, and we're kind of living in a moment
Mm,
because I'm a child of the '70s, and I remember like affirmative action, and now I know we know DEI. But there was, I remember growing up, there was big pushback against affirmative action, and now there's big pushback against DEI, and it's like, so anytime you're trying to include people from different cultures, from different experiences, women, men, other
mm,
people, gender issues, but like there's talent everywhere. But there's some people have this mindset that talent only comes from the box. And the box is
mhm.
whatever they're familiar with or what they're safe with. So like in your business, how do you make people feel that well, that's actually going to make me money, or that's going to make it more efficient, or that's going to give me opportunity when they kind of say, well, that's counterintuitive to my belief system.
Yeah, Phantom. I'll take it one step back quickly, and then I'll answer in the sense that, a lot of the realm that I do is engage with that discomfort, that discomfort you just mentioned of you got to do it within these parameters, or otherwise you start freaking out. Uh, Engage with it because you grow, and that's really where I leave with folks and let them know, you can make money in this way, and you can make money by creating a community around your cause, and that community can look big. If you're only focusing on a certain community, a certain group, particularly, let's say you only want to focus on men, for example, it's like now you're excluding a whole other gender. But if you focus on both gender, Like you got more people that can come into your cause, that can be part of your solution, can be engage with you in the problem, and you just gotta engage with that discomfort, and you'll see that the rewards tend to be a lot more rewarding, more beneficial, a lot bigger than the ones that you originally thought if you were just work with that box. And don't get me wrong, I'm okay with people that like to play it safe. Completely understand it. At some point, you got to understand too is that if you take that risk, if you take that leap, if you jump just a little further from your comfort zone into that growth zone, not too much into the panic, right? Because there's three levels. But if you just navigate that growth zone just right, you're gonna be able to learn, be rewarded, and understand more from the cost that you were originally building. So that's where I do in my day to day. When we're bridging communities, when we're bridging diverse perspectives, it's really bridging. You know, there's a lot of different ways that we see the world. How do we now find that common denominator? And how do we grow about these different ideas, which is really intriguing and really fun.
Yeah, because it's like a bridge, you say, because somebody can call something a divide,
Mm,
but when you talk about it in terms, language is real important. It's like if you say there's a divide, right, or there's
yeah.
this corner and that corner, but when you come into it saying there's a bridge, then it sounds more like diplomacy. Like it sounds like somebody like we're gonna have a conversation, we're not gonna have a fight, right? Then we're gonna
Hmm.
have a way of saying, hey, let's have a debate. Maybe let's have a moderator, right? Let's have a conversation where when somebody's not going in and trying to tilt it to one side or the other. Let's try to bridge our gaps.
Yeah, and that's key, right? The word matters, and that's where I like to lean into that word, the bridge, because it's okay to have conflict. Honestly, lean into it. That tells you actually even more. If you're able to overcome that conflict, I've seen partners, I've seen organizations, that individuals, right, that are able to lean in. It's a little uncomfortable because conflict is not easy, but once you overcome that, there's so much more rewards. There's a lot more that you can learn from. You can actually make friends. Who you might consider to be an enemy might actually be your best partner and your best ally in your cause. And that's where you can have that divisive language that divides, or you can have that inclusive language that brings people together, that bridges, that encourages that growth and encourages, you know, thinking outside that box just a little bit. And it's
Yeah,
great.
because I think a lot of times when you're dealing with people with language, I was a sociology major, so we
Ah,
studied
same here.
people at the microcosm and then the macrocosm. Right, the microcosm is like individual behavior, and then the macrocosm is the group behavior, and they kind of bleeds both ways. Right.
Hmm.
But the question that ends up happening, like what happens is people have like a tendency to want to be safe. So the safety mechanism comes in. They think there's a wolf at the door. If something's scary because it's different, scary because it's what you don't know. So you'll stay in something maybe that doesn't even work, right? And then
Hmm.
you also will have filters where what you hear is actually not what's said. You pull out what's comfortable, it keeps you in your safety zone. So if you go
Hmm.
back and you start, we play with this in sociology and even political science like criminology. We had this situation where, like in a legal class, we had somebody create like a crime and then
Uh,
videotape it, and then have everybody say, "What did you see? Who was the person that actually did the crime? Who's the victim? And then what did you actually see happen?" And then we taped it. Then we asked everybody to write down what they saw, right? And you could see the filters. People would say it was somebody that wasn't even that person, right?
mm,
Could be it wasn't even the race, it wasn't the eye color, it wasn't the person at all. Like what they thought happened is not exactly what happened, but it's like so it's like the filters really affect like what you actually think happened. So then you have to kind of have a discussion with people. It's like, well, what did you hear? What did I say? Like, what did you hear that I gave, that I told you that you're having a problem with? Can you tell me? Can we have a conversation so we can get on the same page?
Phantom, it also the sociology, the political science, definitely there for me. I study both. I also want to say like the psychology, right?
Yeah.
The human, and when you think about worry, that's an emotion, right? How do we internalize emotions? And I learned this recently, and it's really fascinating because emotions only last 90 seconds. That's a lifespan of emotion, right? So 90 seconds, you're feeling that, and what do you do with it? If you don't internalize it, it comes back. You got 90 seconds. So you're worrying, constantly worrying, constantly. So a way that psychologists kind of navigate that is like, you take it in, it's a message, right? Your body's telling you, worry. You feel it for that 90 seconds. So what you do is you gratitude. You do thank you, and then you grow with it, right? So
Learn
let me
from.
give it to 6, 7, right? You got to, it has stages. I like threes. I think threes work really well, but sometimes we're stuck in that first stage where we're just constantly, the body's sending you the message, worry, anxiety, right? Or
Yeah.
panic. And you're just constantly on that loop until you tell your body, you got to kind of calm it and say, hey, thank you. Got the message. I received it. Note,
Yeah.
seen, however we
Accept
want to
it.
say it.
Yeah. You gotta, because I think a lot of times we're fighting the moment. Like this
Yeah.
idea of music is comes from like jazz. Is like there's no bad note. There's an opportunity, especially like a fusion jazz. So if
Mm,
somebody you practice the song, you know what the arrangement is, but somebody goes and plays a different chord in a really tight group, the band will adjust to that note that wasn't planned, and the audience won't
mhm.
even know that there's a mistake because you don't treat it as like classical music where you have to hit it exactly. You treat it as, hey, we could evolve the song and change it. We can live in the moment, and it's a happy accident. It actually makes maybe it's making the song better, right?
Right.
So then instead of thinking you made a mistake and worrying about it, you live in the moment and you deal with it. You deal with like a flow state, and you don't have anxiety about it. You actually are happy that it happened. And that's a different type of mindset where if you want to have everything planned out to the nth degree and it doesn't hit what you expected, then you're very disappointed or you're very anxious about it.
Right. And it made me think about this one video I saw at a sociology class. This was years ago, but I can't remember exactly, but it was like people dancing, and it makes you focus on one particular act, and then a gorilla kind of walks in the back. I don't know. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, and you completely miss that gorilla because you're so focused on one thing. And a lot of that, what we're seeing now, right, is so quick, so short, so what's in front of us that we miss the whole picture.
Yeah, the big
Right.
picture. Like you get the 50,000 foot view and then you get the micro narrow view and
Yes.
and you're so focused and you miss like the forest for the trees is kind of the statement.
Yep, yep. I need to go find that video after this, but it's a classic one, and there's literally a dude in a gorilla costume. Just they're bouncing basketballs. That's what it was.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Uh,
you can play with games like that. Like what people in philosophy too, like, did you hear that and sound in a forest, or not?
uh,
You know,
hmm
because like, what is your perception of reality? What is it? Whatever you want it to
right.
be.
And what you're shifting your attention to, and are you shifting also into the gratitude and the growth, right? Or are you just constantly on that first stage? Was like I'm constantly just taking it in, but not receiving it.
What lessons
Boy,
learned is like people got to realize like in arts, imperfection is actually the thing, right? A lot of
right.
time that the most beautiful things are the unexpected happy accidents, the things that weren't planned. And as you grow as an artist, you're more willing to take what we call like the muse gave me a download and I got my
Mm,
10, 20,000 hours of being an artist, but I know when to pull something in from the external and the internal. So a lot of times artists, what we're good at is we can pull in our subconscious like a waking dream. We can pull that
mm,
into what we're doing, but at the same time, we also can pull in what's going on in the venue, right?
right.
What the air feels like, what the band looks like right now in that moment, what the crowd's doing in that moment, and so that moment changes for to be kind of like that brush stroke. Once you hit the canvas, that's what it is. It's kind of
Yeah.
point in time. You could try to fix it after, but it is what it is.
And I'll bridge that into the professional realm too. It's that way as well, right? You can have a way that you do something and making the mistakes might actually make it better. Just similar to the music or the art, right? It's imperfection because we're human. That's all we are. We're imperfect beings, and in the professional realm, it's not always the oh, I need to do it in the right way. Like you can learn if you do something wrong, because then you're like, oh, I didn't actually consider it this way, or you
Well,
thought a
engineers,
certain way to do it,
yeah, well,
right?
engineers and inventors, we run into it all the time. You know,
Right.
we have iterative development. We do it like agile, iterative
Better.
point one, point two, not a waterfall. And what we find is like we used to have these waterfall methods in software development where you had to have the whole design planned out to the nth degree. Then we
Mm,
decided with agile, we could have little like, okay, iterative development. So we can have point one is what we know now. Point two is what we know tomorrow. Point four is what we know the next day. Right. So we
yep.
don't have to have the whole thing. We used to have to have the whole thing. Now we know that we can continually push up software updates. And so it doesn't have to be perfect for release one. We
Right.
perfect it as we go along and we have continuous improvement releases. And if you live your life in that way, you might not have as much anxiety.
That's true because you're constantly tweaking, right? You're constantly working on yourself, being like a highway, right? Always constantly being under construction, under work.
Yeah, you're never
Uh,
done until you're not
you're
here.
never done. Right, right, right. I mean, here in California, man, there's always some sort of street work going on. So you got to treat yourself with that same amount of love, constantly working yourself, perfecting. And again, going back to what I said earlier, don't stay in that one constant.
It's a
Expand.
grace. It's like give yourself grace. I think a lot of
Oh,
people
yeah.
don't get like in the Western world sometimes. Because I lived in Japan for 2 years
Oh,
and I saw
nice.
a big difference, right? Like it's not that they weren't working hard. The salary guys, they were working for like 14-hour shifts, right? But
Mm.
they would still go in the middle of the day and do Tai Chi or
Oh,
go
right.
and have a tea break or go and do meditation. Where the American, they didn't do that. So like they kind of knew sometimes I need to walk away. And sometimes I need to
Yeah.
go off and do this. And even though I work hard, I still had the spiritual rejuvenation or body rejuvenation by going into a forest. Like they had these little like parks in the middle of Tokyo where
Oh,
people could
beautiful.
go off and go into these. You could walk around a pond. You could go and do Tai Chi. You could do like Shinto type meditation, and I was like, wow! And it was a really big eye opener for me because I would see these guys in their three-piece suits, salarymen, and they were in there doing the Tai Chi and the breathing exercises, and like, wow, that's a different way of being.
Oh, we could learn a lot here in the United States from that. We're in the Western society because the grace piece goes a long way, right? Once you accept the fact that mistakes are part of life and it's okay, you just get back up and make it up. I mean, software technology has been showing us for years. If you look at every iPhone,
It's
right? There's
always
a
updated
new,
every night. Every night.
always up there,
Yeah, it's not
something
like you
new,
used to have to wait and get somebody gave you the CD or they gave you the upgrade and it's a whole new thing. You're
right?
continually getting your updates. You don't have to worry. Yeah.
And our bodies is the same way. We can get up every day, get up every hour if we need to, and work on ourselves, give ourselves that grace, and even the walking, like you mentioned, the parks, like the investment on the public lands is key for me for a lot of work that I do. And I think oftentimes I'm telling myself we would just solve this problem if we just give ourselves just a pause. Be
Well,
like, all
even
right, let's go for a walk.
if you go to like Central America, South America, you go into that part of the Americas, and
Oh
people
yeah.
they take long lunches, like long dinners,
Mhm.
breaks,
Coffee breaks.
more vacation time than we get. I mean, in the EU, they have more vacation than we get. Go to Scandinavia, they have more vacation than we have, and they still have good efficiency. So
Yeah.
this Western fallacy is that we got to work, all year, only have 10 days off, work crazy hours, no breaks, is a fallacy because your burnout is not
It's real.
efficient. It's not efficient.
When I learned that Europeans take the whole month of August off, that inspired me, Fanta. Uh, August is the randomest month of the year, right? It's like, okay,
Yeah,
why?
they take these
July, I get it.
breaks, and we're working with like these global people, like in our international global economy, and we get these people like, oh, they're gone for the whole month, and we're like, how can you do that? because if we got a project, we gotta do this. Like, well, deal with it.
Deal with it. They're gone. They already put that out of office, and we're still
You're
on the
gone, you can't get
computer.
'em. It's like we're trying to like our guys, they're on vacation, we can still ping them.
Mm,
Like, we're still the guy's off to Catskills, he's in Colorado, and we're pinging him. It's like, "Oh, yeah, you gotta come in on this meeting." It's like, "No, they're gone, and you can't get them."
Right. Here in the U.S., the guy will be in the Grand Canyon. Oh, hey y'all, I'm in my Zoom meeting. Don't mind me.
Yeah, just don't do it.
Internet's weak. Yeah,
Yeah,
don't do it.
it's like I think sometimes we gotta build some boundaries,
That's
Yeah, I
definitely
think
a
you have
boundary
to have a
game.
boundary, and you gotta be cool with it, but I think there's so much it's like, "Oh, well, they'll replace me," or, "I'm irreplaceable." So, it's like,
Mm,
if you get this mindset, you're irreplaceable, then you put yourself on the treadmill, right? You put yourself in that hamster wheel. It's like, you gotta, like not that you don't wanna you wanna be disposable,
right.
but you gotta have a boundary. It's like, "This is my life. This is work. This is my spirit. This is my soul. This is my heart. This is my logical brain." It's like, there's gotta be a way to work with all of them.
I'd rewire us because I've been seeing it generationally, right? Like you look at the younger folks and they're they don't care in a way. They're like, yeah, I'm taking off and goodbye and more power to them. I see more about when I work with older generation, they're like, oh no, I gotta keep going, I gotta keep
Yeah,
going, I
yeah, the
replace
younger
them.
people are like, "I don't wanna be in that cubicle.
I wanna be
I'd
outside.
rather go create my own business," right? I'd rather have a micro business, like a micro grant level stuff or entrepreneurial, or they find a way to just like, I'm gonna live in the Bahamas. I'm gonna be on the beach.
Yeah.
I'm gonna live like in Japan, right? Or I'm gonna live in Beijing. I'm gonna go off and just be a world traveler and just work because of these devices we have. I don't have to be sitting in that traffic jam or being on that tarmac stuck on the plane trying to get to the next meeting.
Or on the cubicle, sitting at home, sitting at the office, still doing a Zoom meeting. Like that piece about the back to office still get you. I'm like, how does that make sense? You're all going back in person
To do a Zoom meeting. Like you do
to
a
the
home.
Zoom meeting. Like
Like,
you can
why
do it
would
at
you do
home.
that? Like I've been working remote for 5 years, and I used to be a road warrior, but I
Ah,
decided that I like doing my music. I like doing podcasting. I have to take care of some sick family members, and I said I need some balance. And I found an
mm.
organization that said, well, yeah, he actually works more when he's at home than he did when he was not at home. So it's like, oh, it works better. And I still get, to have a balance in terms of I'm not in the Uber, I'm not on the plane, I'm not in the hotel. So now I have more time for my family, more time for work. I have more time for everybody.
And sometimes the task can just get done quicker at home because you don't have to do that travel time. Don't necessarily gotta get ready. You can just
Yeah. I mean, you could just be in
get
your
your
sweatpants
coffee.
and
Yeah.
just go and do something and somebody pings you. It's like, oh, you got to know when to have boundaries. Like that's one of the problems we're having with the work from home guys is like your boss pings you at 11 at night or 2 in the morning and you answer.
Oh yeah. That's all. It's like, okay, dude, working hours are still a thing. You could maybe say like 7 a.m. now. It wouldn't push it past maybe even 9. I'm a little bit more. I like to get my work done early, mostly because my clients are East Coast, Central, and I'm in the West Coast. So when it's 9 a.m. for you, it's 6 a.m. over here. I'm like, okay, I'm up from early, but I appreciate the luxury of being able to get my cup of coffee in the morning, do my Zoom meeting, say, hey, y'all, I'm gonna be camera off, but the work's getting done, right? So
Yeah.
just have it's still the boundaries because I can say I'm not professionally ready, or if I need to be ready, move stuff around, and that's a practice. That's where the giving ourselves grace really matters because you're not gonna get it right up front, but you also gotta understand what works for you, what doesn't work, and how can you lean more into that one box. I do a lot of journaling. I like to write
Yeah.
stuff down.
Yeah.
Got my planner here, and like whenever something doesn't go, I'm like, nah, this does not work. Avoid this
You
at
don't
all
like to do
costs.
it. You like to do it like analog manual journal, not like
Yeah,
an iPad journal or you have like a physical paper. paper.
Physical pen and paper. I always my like honestly, I have a pen on my hand at all time because it just helps me to be able to write it
It's a
down
good
and
process.
process
I think
it.
a lot of people realize I found out a long time ago that,
Yeah,
like, actually writing it down, 'cause I went to, like, Bowdoin College, and we had to open book not open book, but, like, blue book. So you
yeah,
had blue book, you didn't have, like, SAT filling out the bubbles, like,
right. I
when
remember
the
the blue
professor
books.
yeah, they're gonna tell you, like, relay in your own words this concept, right? And don't just
Mhm.
pick it, which one's like ABC or check this box. You actually had to explain it. Can you actually explain what the professor been teaching you all semester? Can you put it in your own words? Can you apply things? Critical
Mm.
thinking, Socratic method. And I think people like they just doing shortcuts, and I don't think you retain.
Oh,
If
no.
you do like SAT type test, you remember for that test, and after you forget the whole thing. Like if you do it the Socratic method, you do oral test, you do the blue book, you will retain what you learned. You will remember it, but you won't. So what's the value of that degree if you didn't retain hardly any of it?
Or you chat GPT it out like the new kids are doing now, and I'm like, "Ooh, good luck." I tell a lot of my because I work with some college students and high schoolers, pen and paper, dude. It's gonna be
Yeah,
save
because
your
you're gonna
life.
your brain has a way of remembering that, putting it
Mhm.
into like a zone. It's like it's there. You can recall it. It's like the muscle memory, like your brain's muscle memory by writing in cursive, writing it down.
And I don't know about you, Phantom, but I feel something different about writing things down than even like typing it. Like
Yeah,
there's just the muscle that
brain
you're
seems to yeah.
using
It's like
different.
when I'm playing the piano. Like if I go and
Yeah.
I play if I don't like this is the problem with some music today. People go on the computer, they go on their DAW, they write everything, all the bars on the digital space.
Ah.
They don't even play it, right? They don't play the bass, they don't play the piano. It's all put into this digital box. And you can compose and you're not necessarily a musician. You just learn how to compose, music theory and you just do it that way. Like you don't remember the song like if you actually played it on your guitar or your sax or your piano or your organ. When you physically play that instrument with your fingers, you
Mhm.
remember it. It gets stuck in your soul. I mean, it's in there. It's in your body, it's in your spirit. You that whatever else is like that's in the box, but
Yeah.
that's not
It,
you.
right. It's not you doing it, it's the machine. And I play the guitar and I can resonate on that one because, going back to the making the mistakes, because if you're practicing the tune or trying to remember the chords and you mess up, sometimes you mess up and you're like, oh,
That's better.
that actually sounded good. Let me try that again. Or
It's a
being
better
able,
voicing. Like, I went and changed it, like, I don't remember the voicing I was using, and then I play with it, and it's like, "Oh, this voicing" that's the whole thing with, like, music is, like, I could do things with different voice and different types of chords, and
mm-hmm.
depending on what the chord is, I could have it's a different color. It's like I call it sound painting. So you do
Something.
it's like the colors of those chords, like, are like, I see it kinda like in a colorway, and I
Mm,
find it's very descriptive in terms of like Jimi Hendrix used to talk like that about how he used to record. He talked about it in terms of colors, and George Martin with the Beatles talked about sound painting as well. And it's just this way of relating, kind of cross relating from one art form like painting
yeah.
to music. And it's like the more that you can bridge things, like you're saying, then you open up new ideas and two new possibilities, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's all about being able to transfer, right? Although it might be solely in one world, you can bridge it to a different world and be like, hey, actually, think about like music. You can do that in daycare, right? You can
You
bring
can
in
do
the
that
music.
for
You can
everything.
do it for everything. You can bring it over here to the community space. You can bring it into politics. You can bring it into the corporate world. It's always going to be that aspect, but vice versa, a skill. If you're very logical minded, let's say you like spreadsheets. I mean, that's an organizational mind, right? You got a very organized mind. You can carry that another aspect, but you got to learn how to bridge the talent and the hobbies and apply it in a different way and experiment, right?
Yeah, that's I think that's the thing where, like, some people get pigeonholed. It's like, you can't go into software design unless you, like, got, like, 5.0 in your comp sci and your algebra and all that. But what we've found is we actually have people who are art majors
Mm,
working in software design because they're working on the UI, right? Or they work and
beautiful.
they have people who are more artistic and they come up with artistic designs for the interfaces or for what the product
Mm,
should look like. And so, and you get guys like me who are like, I was a sociology, political science major, and I'm a business system analyst. Basically, I write research papers. They get turned into code.
yeah.
So the idea of finding what is the problem. Like I look at what is the business problem, put it in English language, like a research paper. Said what are the options to solve the problem, and the programmers figured out what code to do that in. So
Mm,
you would think it's like, oh, I have to be a programmer to do it. No, I was a sociology major, but I'm in IT for 20 years with that background. So you would have people who won't even go into it, then that they're not believing that they could.
mm. So for the listeners here, if you're curious about exploring a new place, a new opportunity, or a new, hobby, try it. You never know. It's just you might bring something to it that you wasn't even discovered yet, or a different way of thinking it, right?
Yeah,
Sociology into the IT world. That's beautiful. And I share that too, because as a sociology political science major, right off college, I started working with MIT. And I could see the difference between the way that the MIT folks thought about everything, very
yeah, yeah. They have a
technological and
different
in order.
engineering mindset, more social
Yeah.
mindset
In my
versus
mind over here coming like, let's just do all these things differently, or it's okay if you this part is not done, you can still move on to part three. And it's like, but part two is not done. It's like, it's okay, that'll get done. You can work asynchronously, my favorite word, right?
yeah. Now
Things
things don't
can
have to be sequential. Like artists will think
right.
in non-sequential. You talk to a writer, you see
Mm-hmm.
filmmakers. Filmmakers film films in non-sequential order. Sometimes they film the ending at the beginning, the
Yeah.
middle here, it's all over the place. Like they don't film the movie in sequential order. They almost hardly ever do. And writers are the same way. They a lot of times they write a book and it's like the parts are all out of sequence when they're first putting it together, and then they kind of bring it to sequence. But that's people
Hmm.
don't always think in a straight line.
Oh, it's no straight world there. That's the part of life. If you can summarize it in one thing, it's not a straight shot. It's a squiggly line, and you're doing
I
all
think that's
sorts
what
of
the
things.
culture gets to get. You get the people who are kind of like yes, no, black, white,
Oh
on,
yeah.
and then you get the people who are like, well, why couldn't it be this, or why can't we start from the middle, or why can't
Yeah.
we invert this? Why can't we revert this? Why can't we flip this upside down? Why do we have to look at it like this when we look like that? And then what? So then the culture is like, and then there's cultural differences depending on like what part of the world you come from, what language you speak, what religion you might have come from. So then you come into
Hmm.
the workplace and these people got this idea. And then like how do you bridge the culture? Like if we've got people working in India, we got people working in Germany, people working in Hong Kong, people working in Japan. They all have different cultural perspectives of how they
And
look at things.
exactly, the worldview is right, and that's the beauty about the United States is that we have the opportunity to bring in all these different perspectives, ideas, methods, the way it's done, and we don't lean into it enough. I think we can lean even more and say, oh, actually, it is possible to still run a multi-million-dollar business and take the month of August off, or give your employees,
A
go do
break.
whatever you want, give them a break, or
Yeah, 'cause I think they're so into short term,
hmm
right? I think that's the big problem. Everybody's into the quarterly results. And,
right.
they're into what's going on in the market, like in the stock market or on the crypto. Everybody's looking for these like numeric proof of efficiency where sometimes like you need a longer lens on that. Like you need to look at the big picture. That if you
Uh,
actually invest and it's not going to happen tomorrow, right? But you invest, you will get a better result than if you just like shotgun it. Like let's get it. Let's just put everything into it and get it done in 2 days. Like, okay, well, how good is that?
you're gonna sprint through it, and then you didn't give yourself time to enjoy the process of the journey. And I love that Phantom, because it's that concept of that delay gratification, right? Like you're not gonna get that dopamine fix right away. You're stretching it intentionally. So
Yeah.
once you get to that, it's great. I feel like great you did it. But you also had this whole, it took you 3 months. Great. There's a lot of up and downs. You reflect on it. You work with people. Maybe you got into an argument, conflict. That's part of being human, and give yourself the grace, right? Instead of trying to do all that in 2 weeks, then you're all just burnt out. You're mad.
Yeah.
You
Cause I
actually
mean,
didn't get to enjoy the journey.
cause
You missed all the flowers.
we were
Go
talking to
ahead.
some people like they're using like, you can use AI for all kinds of things, and I'm not against it, but I do have some concerns. There's some
Or-
concerns like in terms of environmental concerns, in terms of ethical
Mhm.
concerns, like kids using it for their high school exams and papers when they back in my day, you go to the library, use the Dewey Decimal System, and you go do the work. And part of
Yeah.
doing the work is part of the process, right? If I know how to go to the library and go find that thing, right? Know how to do the footnotes and the endnotes, know what plagiarism is, know what it isn't, and actually
Oh,
go find out that information. That learning about doing the research work, to me, even though Chat GPT could do it real fast, I think you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't know how to do it the manual way.
exactly. And again, it's a quick fix. Quick fix. AI is great. It's a tool, though, right? You don't you don't use a hammer. Construction worker doesn't use a hammer for everything, right?
Yeah, it's a tool.
You,
I mean,
it's a
you just gotta
tool.
learn where to use it and when to use it and when not to use
And when
it.
not to use it, right? Because if you're gonna go in and try to fix windows with the hammer, you're gonna break the windows, right? The AI could break a lot of good things
Yeah,
around
my
you.
concern with it is like, oh, I see like, oh, they're using the AI for HR decisions on candidates, and I'm like,
You know?
well, I guess you could whittle through 1,000 candidates and bring it down to the people that you're going to interview. My concern is, are you using that machine to make a human decision? If
Mm,
you used it to whittle it down to 10 candidates, that's fine, and you orally interview and you physically interview and you still have the discernment of a human being making the decision, that's cool. But if you make AI make the final decision, then
right.
I'm questioning that.
I think you're bringing a great point, Phantom. It's again AI plus human, not just AI, right? Like you need it's a two part. Again, human plus hammer.
Yeah.
Construction is not just hammer because you're just allowing the biases too of that
Yeah,
AI or the
it's
person that
built by
created
who
the AI.
people think machines, "Oh, I can't have bias." Like, I could build a machine, right? If I build a natural language model
Hmm.
and I go and I put some premises in, those premises are my premises.
Right.
I build those algorithmic rules. Like, if I say beauty is in terms of, like, Eastern, like, a point of view or a Western point of view or, like, an African point of view or whatever cultural point of view, I could have it's like, "Well, I think Aphrodite is the height of beauty." Somebody
Hmm.
else could think it's some Eritrean height of beauty, some Eritrean queen. But it's like if I embed that in a machine, it's going to go and say, "Well, this is my idea of beauty." The machine's going to say that, and it's not. And I mean, just because the machine said it, don't mean it's the truth. So I think
Right.
people take, "Oh, the machine said this, that, so that means that's the final arbiter of what it is." It's like, no, it's not.
And if you don't mind, let's stick on this AI for just a little bit more because it's really interesting. It's on the idea on the it's going to replace a human. And I do people to people work as a sociologist, right? The community engagement. And
Yeah,
it's even more needed now because it's so interesting that AI is everywhere. And to the point that even like your email could respond, you can send the email through AI and someone can respond you through AI. So it's just like,
you
it's so
didn't even
crazy
talk.
that
You didn't
you're
even
not
talk.
even talking. You're just removing the human connection. It's just these bots talking to each other, right? And the work that I do is put the bot aside, right? Put yourself in the center. You're in the seat. You're controlling the
Yeah,
conversation. We're having this and do it very much pencil and paper, right? Like let's talk. There are times in which the AI is really helpful for the work, right? Because it can
yeah,
record, for
yeah,
example, and tell you, hey, you talked about all these things. These are the topics. That's great because it saves me time in the
Yeah,
analysis. But I
bullet
still
points,
like
action
right,
items. You can
but
pull those out.
right, but I still hear through because there's some things that still as a human you can catch on. Oh, this person says so and so in this certain matter because there's emotion, right? And the
Yeah,
AI
the
can't pick
motion,
up
it
that
doesn't know that.
emotion.
Yeah, it doesn't pick
Doesn't
up
know.
that. Yeah, it
Uh,
loses that. The context can be really important, and AI sometimes doesn't understand the emotional context because it's not a
mhm.
human, it's not sentient. So if it's not
Uh,
sentient, it's not gonna pick up like a vibe. It's not gonna
right.
pick up from experience that when I see somebody turn that phrase and I see what they do with their eyes, I see what they do with their face, I know what they said, but I know what they mean, right?
Mhm.
And the AI is
Right.
gonna just go on face value because it's not looking at your facial expression, it's not looking at your what you're doing with your body language. Body
Yeah.
language is real important.
Body language tells you 1,000 more things than the words that came out of the
Yeah,
person's mouth. They
AI
could
is
be like
not
this. They
picking
could
that up
be
yet. Maybe
yeah.
they'll try to, and then what are the cues? Like, the cues are what the whoever programmed it think they
Right.
are, right?
And
But
then it
you're
goes
still
back
a
to that
human.
box.
Yeah, you're still a human. It's like what you feel that cue is probably different than anybody else, right? It could
Mhm.
be in a spectrum of human behavior, but how you perceive it is different than how John or Sally or whoever perceives it. So it's like it's still a human like interpretation, and everybody interpret things in different ways. So I think that's where it gets lost when you try to say everything's going to be in this algorithm. And we already see what algorithms do.
Oh yeah.
Algorithms are pushing like what's the most obnoxious thing, and let's monetize that.
Yeah.
So is that really what you want the machine to be doing? Well, that's what it's doing. But is that really what your intent was?
This is going out of control, and then I was like, okay, how do you bring it back? And that's why I still said to the point, it's like it's still too early. It's good to play around with it, right? Experience it, and then the environmental concerns you brought up, right?
Yeah.
The fact that there's towns without water or their water
Yeah,
turning
man, it's like
brown.
taking billions of gallons of water, right? It's knocking people's electricity rates up because
That's
basically the
wow.
problem I have with this is, okay, I've always been from an economic theory, like the
Mm,
price of a product should include what it really cost, right? When
yeah,
you subsidize an AI data center with the community paying higher energy costs per their household, paying higher water rates per their household. And then the corporation that built that data center doesn't pay that cost. You're subsidizing that on the backs of the working people, and they didn't really ask for that. So
right.
that in the marketplace, that price of that product is not accurate. And this is the thing in capital. Oh, it's a free society, free market. Like it's not exactly free market when you're giving subsidies to billionaires.
Right. Or, I think about so before California, I lived in Wisconsin, and Wisconsin's all farmland. And recently, data centers that have been proposed there. It's interesting because this report came out saying one data center would use up more energy than all these towns combined, put
Mm.
together. And it's like, how does that make sense? These are farmers. These are
Yeah, then
literal
the
farmers.
problem I have is they're making the people in that community pay a higher electric rate. Shouldn't the company that's using the energy pay the higher rate? And this
Right.
is the problem is that they have a lobbyist that goes to the government and says, I don't have to pay the rate because this is innovation, right? I don't have to pay the water utility rate because this is innovation. And then you saddle that cost on top of the work of the homeowners, of the
Right.
property owners. So they have to pay higher property tax, higher utility bills. That's not fair to me. Like
Oh
if
no.
they're going to work in the marketplace, then they should have to pay the cost. And if that product costs too much, then it's not ready.
Right.
So
They need less.
you want to invest in it with the stockholders to invest it? Fine. You want venture capitalists to invest on it, but don't make me invest on it when I didn't ask to invest in it.
People are asking for different things. They're asking for cheaper groceries, cheaper
Yeah,
all
they're
these
not
things.
asking for that. Like, think about it. Like you tell people, like you asking like Gemini what you should wear is actually going to knock up your utility bill and knock your water bill up, maybe you're not going to ask Gemini that.
We
But
should
you don't
bring that
actually know.
example.
You don't know that that's what it's doing. So maybe you should learn.
Yeah, I'm gonna use that example, Phantom, right? Like, don't be asking Gemini what to wear because you're just increasing your energy bill. You just that's the cost, right? That's the effect.
Yeah, that's a cost.
You,
It's a hidden cost that you don't realize. And this is they've been playing games with pushing cost off of basically infrastructure cost.
oh yeah,
Right? If the hydropower system is funneling all 90% of energy to the data center, then the rest of the energy goes to the other people, and then they don't actually pay the 90%. They spread that 90% to the 10%.
yeah.
Well, do the math. You know that don't seem right.
Does it right? And you just messed up all that 10%. It was the people just oof.
Yeah,
They
why
can't hold it.
Yeah, that's the thing is like I think people need to have honest conversations. And the problem I have with some people, they'll go into a conversation and say, "You're against innovation. You're against technology." Right. When then the person in that conversation doesn't come back with what the kind of things I'm saying. They
Oh
just say,
yeah,
"Oh, you're hurting the environment." Well, that's nice, but like you didn't make an argument that's more. Let's talk on their terms. Let's talk about the money. Let's come into
right.
it from an economic. Let me prove to you that you're making me pay for something I didn't ask to pay for. Right. Let me show you the numbers on that, and then you're not going to want me there. Right. You're not going to want to debate me for that.
And Phantom and the realm that I do is more of the tell me an experience you personally had, right? Or a personal experience. And that switches the conversation because the man, you mentioned that example or woman, be inclusive, they're coming in with an opinion, right? And it's always usually the people that make the least amount of money, the $40,000 or so, they're always protecting the billionaires. So it's like, no, hold on. Come with what's your experience that you have had that you can tell me that this doesn't work? Because I can tell you the experience, or I heard this story, or bring
Yeah.
someone with the actual experience that this is affecting them because now their water is brown, or now
Yeah.
their electricity bill just tripled in a month, and
Yeah, you
maybe
gotta come in with like the facts. See, sometimes we come in with
mhm,
emotion, and we come in with like not enough like argument to win, and then we're told, "Oh, well, you're emotional. You're not. You're anti-technology. You're anti-progress." And it's like everyone's, "Oh, when the horse and buggy came along, I mean, after the horse and buggy, we have the automobile. The guys working on the horses, they all lost their job, and they got to work at the Ford plant." But the
yeah,
thing about that argument, like the guys who are working at the Ford plant, if you look at the stats back in the day, they used to roll through the Industrial Revolution, used to roll through the workers very fast because they found it very boring and very
mm,
tedious. And when they were working on the horse and buggy and there was more craftsman work, they were more involved in it. They felt more tied to it. When they made people work on the assembly line, they felt less tied to it, and they had high
mm,
turnover. So they don't always tell the truth. So you talk about that as, oh, that's progress. It's like, but what happened to the worker's sense of pride,
right.
right? So you don't bring into that because you don't bring people in to point it out because you don't want them to point it out.
And history has patterns, right, Phantom? So I'm curious what patterns we might learn from this current, like this
Yeah,
rise of innovation. Innovation is not bad,
it's not bad.
and we learn through time that if you do it right, you only have to do it right once.
But my whole thing
So
is like make it work in the marketplace, right?
yeah,
Have the true cost. So with ChatGPT, right, instead of costing $20 a month, if the real cost to use it is 200 a month or 300 a month, let that be the cost that somebody chooses to use it. And that's what it really costs. My
right,
argument is they're hiding the cost by making other people pay for it.
right.
And so
Well,
then if you really want to work in a marketplace, then put it out there for what it really cost.
yeah, and then opening it up to everybody is just a way to really train it, teach it, right? Because that's what it's doing. And is it down? Does that mean down the road is it gonna just go up? I'm curious about like what's the long term game again? That the delay gratification piece. sometimes
Yeah.
it's bad because
Well, I mean,
then
what
you
they've
just
got to do is also like find a way to cool it down where you don't have to use billions of gallons of water,
that's real.
right? And then find a way to make it more efficient so it isn't so power hungry. If you check most of these, I don't want to go into this too heavy, but the idea these companies haven't been making profits. If you look at
Right.
all of them, they're all like underwater. They're all being subsidized by the government or by the taxpayer or by people's property taxes or utility taxes. So
Mm,
the question is, what's the purpose of pushing a tool that's actually knocking people out of work, not making a profit, and is being subsidized by the very people that it's knocking out of work? So then you're wondering, like, who's making the money? Who's getting the benefit? So you got to make a statement like, does this really benefit overall society, like the electricity did, like a water filtration plant did? There's some
mm,
technology you can see immediate benefit. Yeah, I'm not getting dysentery. Like I have an electric light, I have an electric like a refrigerator. My food doesn't go bad. But what's the real benefit? People
right.
need to really start like and do a real assessment of the real benefit.
That's a good one, Phantom. I think about like the electric vehicles, right? Skepticism. Electric vehicles have been along for years, decades, way before the fully electric, like
Yeah,
Teslas and whatever we have now. Now there's more, but right, it just recently started exploding because there's so much learning, so much
yeah.
behind the scenes that
In long range, you got to make them have a
uh,
range more than 200 miles, or they're not,
right.
or it doesn't really work for you.
And that's the future, right? That's where it's going to. Like, how do we make the batteries more efficient? That AI should have been the same way. Like, how do we make this more efficient in terms that
Yeah,
it's
there's
not?
gonna be a big
You say,
point with electric cars, just from a techie. There's an idea of the solid state battery versus like these lithium ions. It's a
mm,
different type of battery technology, and with solid state batteries can go 700 to 1,000 miles on the charge.
wow, so
So
solid state.
when that comes through, electric cars will be competitive or even better than a gas car, because a gas car can maybe go 600 miles on a full tank, a very efficient one.
Right.
But these cars will be able to go 700 to 1,000 miles on a charge. And their battery chemistry is that they don't catch on fire as easy as a lithium ion. It's just a new tech, and Toyota and all the companies are working on it. All the big
Uh,
have it. It's a future design. Most of them are coming in 28, 29. That will revolutionize the electric car and make it more credible. So
right.
when you have a thing like that makes it credible and makes it usable, it's like, hey, it's not just going 200 miles and then I got to charge it. Yeah, it can go 700 to 1,000 miles. I think that is the big game changer. So when you make something that's actually usable and it's
Right.
actually better, right? And it's like, hey, it's more cost effective. Then eventually, like, then it'll get people, the marketplace will show that it works or it'll show it doesn't.
Or in the sure does that. You also gotta teach people on that learning curve too, right? The adapting of the EV is different than the gas car because you're not
Yeah,
going
with
to the
some
gas
people
station,
just have a thing, they like a Hemi engine. They like the sound of a gasoline engine.
and that's fair too, right? I
So, I
mean,
mean, that's a personal choice, but then you have to
hmm
balance it. It's like, well, what does that do for CO2? Well, what does that do to the environment? What does that do to your mileage? You like your Hemi, but it only gets 9 miles to the gallon. I mean,
and
so it's like,
then
what are you doing?
right, what do you do that? You're just spending money. Then you tax them more, and you tax those guys instead of the EV guys.
If you want to be able to have that Hemi, then you gotta pay for the Hemi,
Hmm.
right? So then if you can't afford the Hemi, then you can't buy it. So you have to decide what's important.
Right. Although it's a beautiful car, we'll say, it's still, hey,
Yeah, man, I love I'm a child of the '70s. I love my Barracudas and Challengers and Mustangs, to Shelbys and all that, but
oh yeah.
that was then. Like, we're living
Hmm.
in a whole new age, and the tech is today is hydrogen engines, electric engines, fuel cells. That's kinda where the tech I mean, do you expect in 21st century that maybe the tech's gonna evolve? And that's kinda where it's going.
That's good. Evolution is good. It's not a bad thing again, right? The
Yeah.
growth zone, and
Yeah, I just
Don't
think
let
people have to be culturally aware of what they're hanging on to. Like, some people
exactly.
wanna hang on to this badge of honor of the past because it
Hmm.
feels comfortable, it makes them feel, they remember a moment, they're hanging on to that moment. But if hanging on to that moment, it's kinda like you live in a society. It's kinda like civics, right? It's
Right.
community, like, it's citizenship, right? Is it all about you? Well, what about your neighbor? What about your city? What about your town? What about your state? What about your country? Right. So at some point, the microcosm bleeds into the macro, and the macro bleeds into the micro. And like, what's your responsibility as a citizen
Mm.
of your state, your country, the world? Right.
Some good reflections for the audience to think about this weekend. Your responsibilities, not just your own internal, but community, right? Your
Yeah.
state, your own nation, and the world, because we're all in it together. And that's
In
your
different
one
cultures,
area. Yeah.
they have a different perspective. Like, if I'm in the Eastern society, like during the flu season in Japan,
Mm.
everybody was wearing masks.
Yeah.
This is before COVID. I was there in 2004. Flu season, go on a Tokyo subway, everybody's freaking wearing a mask. And it wasn't about like,
They care about each
I
other.
don't like it. They knew that I don't want my neighbor catching the flu. It's a different
Hmm.
mindset. Like, in that society, the individualism wasn't as important as maybe the community shouldn't be sick.
And if you're gonna go into but going back to the gratification, why would I do that, right? If I don't want to wear a mask, it's like, well, you get to live longer. That's the delayed gratification, right? You
Yeah,
get to, you
it's
don't
like
get as sick.
the way we look at it is I don't like the way it looks, or
Or it
somebody
feels.
tells me that I look stupid, right? That what are you doing? So it's more about like a very superficial thing. Somebody will say they hate me. Somebody will say they don't like me. Somebody will say I look goofy. Somebody will say I look silly compared to your health. Like, you spend all your time buying supplements. You spend all your
Right.
time buying special food, but do you not understand that if I wear this, like, maybe you won't get long COVID, or maybe you won't get the flu, or maybe you won't get, you know, any other kind of airborne illness? It's like, but that's not important, but it's important to buy that supplement.
Tell me how that makes sense. Make that make sense.
How we think it's like people don't think fully, like, they're not seeing, like, again, the big picture.
Hmm.
Very narrow pictures, very short-term gains,
Yeah.
and being popular and not being ridiculed is, I guess, important for your ego, for your id.
Hmm.
But, like, is that really important?
I tell people, okay, it's good. It was good to be in high school, but you got to grow up too, right? You got to move on from that. But again, some people are just stuck in that. I just want to look cool. I just want to be with the cool kids. I don't want to wear the mask. It's like, no, 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 it's okay. Uh, you're gonna survive. Things are
Yeah,
gonna
I
be
just
fine.
think, like, cultural competency from your point of view, like, when you start to tell people about that concept and when you bring it to your as a consultant, when you're bringing that idea to people, well, how do you, like, relay that?
Yeah, it's a lot of questions first, right? And then let me reiterate back. I heard this. I heard this. I heard this. Do you have an experience from it, or again, or is this more something you heard online? Oh, cool. Most oftentimes, Phantom, it's a opinion, right? I saw this on TikTok, or I saw this online, so it must be true. Fox News comes up a lot, funny enough, in my conversation. I do work with all backgrounds, and that's the funniest because then it's like, well, let me show you this. I actually learned this from this person, or I talked to this person, or if I got recordings, I can bring that into the conversation and kind of guide them through a different point of view in a way that is not. And I use the word guide very intentionally, right? Because it's not
Mhm.
here, try to like walk this with me. I can show you, and it might feel weird and engage with that discomfort. So when you're thinking about like, is someone really telling me something that I don't agree? Is it something that is it because I haven't experienced it and they haven't experienced, or is it because I'm trying to learn, I could learn something from here and lean into the curiosity. So a
Yeah.
lot of times it's very intentional in the conversation. Start with the values up front. this is what we're gonna have. This is the type of conversation. It's okay to disagree. How do we resolve the conflict if it does spark? Sometimes it doesn't, which is great. And how do we move this forward? 3 pieces again, which I love threes, like I mentioned. So values, host, do with the conversation, and then the wrap up. Sort of like how do we go from here, or where do we go from here? So
It's all
um,
again, it's like that bridge. We're gonna bring it back to that because we're kind of at the end of the conversation for today. But the idea
well,
is, people don't like the bridge because I think
mm,
sometimes it's easier to stay in your camp, right? It's like easier to just stay where you're comfortable. And any artist will tell you the only way you grow as a musician is you push your comfort zone.
yeah,
And so the same thing happens in any thing you do, right? If you're gonna get better, you're probably gonna have to get that master's degree or you have to get that certificate, which is gonna be uncomfortable because it's not
hmm
your state. Your normal state is not to be like in your state where you're not challenged. Well, that's kind of like steady state. But as soon as you go to test yourself, well, you might not do it on the first try, right? It might take
yeah,
a bunch of tries. You might have to go through something and deal with the heartbreak of, oh, I didn't get it from 0 to 100 on the first try. Well, that doesn't mean you can't try it again.
right. Give yourself the grace and try again. And I think you're spot on that. It's just it's part of being human. You gotta keep growing and don't give up, but try new things. That's the part.
So we do have your LinkedIn, and that's going to be fully clickable for everybody, and they can click that. And so we do encourage people when they see the podcast. We've been live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Kick. If you want further details or connect with a guest like yourself, you just can click on that link. It'll be fully clickable in the podcast description. Again, we'll be on other major platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcasts by tomorrow. I want to thank you for being a guest on the Fam Electric Ghost podcast.
Thank you, Phantom, and thank you to the audience for taking the time. This is a wonderful conversation, and happy Friday, y'all.
Thank you.